Call the Port of Johnstown Management Committee meeting to order at 6:30. Looking for the approval of the agenda. Any changes or additions? I have a mover. Moved by Chris Ward, seconder. Moved by Lottie Snell. Any questions any questions, concerns about the agenda? All in favor? Pass. Disclosure and security interest and general nature thereof. Does anyone have? Any interest? Good. Minutes of the previous Port of Johnstown Committee meeting, December 18th, 2023. Any errors or omissions? Any concerns? I need a mover. Moved by Mr. Smell, second by Mayor Deschamps. Any questions? All in favor? Business arising from the previous Port of Management Committee meeting, if any. Nothing arising? Number 7, discussion items, is none. Number 8 is an action and information items. We'll go to 8A, grain operation report. And Mike.
Okay, so the operations report for December 2023. The overall grain inventory for the month ended at 82,388. Port had a very busy end to the vessel season, and wheat shipments also continue to be high into the back. The traffic for December, we received a total of 71,942 metric tons of grain via truck. We shipped a total of 13,084 metric tons of grain via truck. We shipped 123,104 metric tons of grain via vessel and 1,278 metric tons of grain via rail. You can see that we had quite a list of shipments to load in the summer. We loaded 4 soybean and 2 corn. And we're also worked overtime on the 23rd and the 26th for a local vendor. And that was our month. On to incidents. We ended the year with 0 lost time, which was very good. You know, only 1 medical treatment and 1 recordable. But during the month of December, we had 2 learning events. We had 2 minor incidences. Labor for the month was 3,762 hours compared to the previous year of 3,160. And for the current year, 33,764 compared to the previous year, 31,650. Quality report, month of December, we had a double A. It was a quick summary of a very busy December.
I say it was just a touch. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go with Mr. McCauley, because if not, I'll forget him. So do you have any questions, Mr. McCauley?
None at all, Deputy Mayor. Just again, a compliment to the entire team for not only an exceptional December, but an exceptional year. So well done.
I'm going to start the far right, Mr. Stitt.
Just echo Frank's comments and also for the safety record. That's very impressive, especially with the business you guys. Very good. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson?
Well, I have
Mr. Smell?
Frank's comments and congratulations. That was fantastic.
Go ahead, Mr. Ward.
Honestly, got nothing to say. It was all good news all around. It looks like so. You know, I'm assuming on the health and safety incident, everybody's okay. It was just a learning thing, like you said. So,
Mr. Mayor?
no, no.
Nothing well played.
And Mr. Cameron?
Nice wrap up. Nice year in, folks. Great job. Nice to go from an A to a double A in year 2.
Yeah, no, I'll echo that. I mean, I just can't believe December, especially with holidays and a couple days off and you did all that work. You guys should be proud of yourselves. I have a question. Why did 2 ships of corn go out in December? Is that
Why did we?
yeah, like why did it go? Like
We
was it
got sale for it somewhere.
just a coincidence, I guess, at the end of the year though? Must have been, because we never had that before, have we?
Yeah, I usually typically at the end of the year when the soybeans done, they try to squeeze something else in. So
Okay, now, I hate to burst your bubble, but you said you had 2 incidents or learning events.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate maybe a little on?
We had the slip and fall injury on some ice and
Oh.
the slip injury on the steel ladder. We're trying to figure out.
And that was probably over the holidays, was it, at the end of the year?
In December.
Well, again, thank you very much. Well done, management and your workers should be very proud of.
I'm
Of what you
confident
did.
we had,
Yeah.
you know, they did an excellent job this year, certainly pulling together the year with the pressure was on.
Great to see you guys work like that and like I said, and like Frank said, just a great year. So thank you again. 8B, unless anyone else has anything on 8B, we're gonna have the maintenance report, please.
During the meeting series during the monthly fall, we got the monthly process inspection of the GMP requirements, replacing bearing concentrator basement in 23. Replacing partial break cable or track wheel, plow snow roads is needed. Lots of place this year. Replace open tire rods inside 7 and 8 scales. Those are the 8 supports for the integrity of the scales. They do vary from time to time. Green have we put the check wall dust the living. Continue with triple rail inspection and maintenance, replace main drive belt with drain cleaner. So that's worth a couple of steps that lead into the basement on the south side of the building. Several items in work order law. Weekly and monthly dust inspections and maintenance. Work in the electrical area including. Electrician is pretty handy, that's been. Fortunately, the time, you know, it's original work there. Which is good that we can do it. Maintenance, you know, the tanks, motor control centers, there's. Clean and inspect cross-cut samplers and automatic valves, the shipboard conveyors, it's done prior to each vessel. As well as a thorough inspection and repair at the end of the shipping season. Disconnect and variation capping has been installed. This dam, you know, will be reinstalled when the new dam arrives. Had by vibration problem from off the side of the dam. We're repairing that. Troubleshoot security gate alarms that allow access to the ship loading and unloading areas, parts are covered and. And items in the work order. Pretty much in a nutshell.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McCauley,
Nothing from me, thank you.
Mr. Stitt. Mr. Ed. Mr. Stitt. Mr. Ward,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, it is.
All
Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Martel,
Nothing, thank you.
Just curious, replace the bearing in a concentrator within 123. I'm not familiar with that term. What's a concentrator?
Concentrated, the talking idlers, components, rollers, on conveyor belts. We have thousands of them in place from time to time, very rare.
Okay, and you call that a concentrator? Okay, like a reducer?
No, it's an actual roller with bearings in it, and they give the conveyor belt its profit.
Okay,
So with this, the conveyor runs on.
very good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have one, the north aeration fan on the annex bin number 7. Obviously it burned out. Does that affect any of the product inside or it won't? And now is that fixed or are we still waiting for the motor?
I've got the motor here, we're waiting for the fan hose.
Good, thank you. 8C, capital budget.
Your, capital budget is basically the layout of the budget is the same as was presented in December. Nothing has changed, nothing worth the capital has changed. The only thing, different on this report in December, small number at the bottom of the page. So that we were, $17,000 over the budget amount of $2.79 million, which is about 0.6% overall for the year. That's it, we're very confident.
Mr. McCauley,
I'm good, thanks.
Mr. Stitt.
Good.
Mr. Lord,
Just so we're gonna, is it for the 2024 budget, we're gonna reevaluate the repairs and modifications of the tank shed, or is that gonna be later on in the year, by the way? Is it for the, we're gonna do that in the 2024 budget, or we're gonna review it in 2024 at some point? The second one, we're gonna review it at some point this year?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, yep, okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
No questions.
Mr. Martell,
No, sir.
Mr. Cameron.
Just one question on the bin ballots. It's the only thing that really came in significantly over budget. But 50% over at 870 versus the 600 base. Can you help remind me what the reason for that over budget was? Everything else is really close, right? Or small numbers.
This was remember that from the original budget amount. What we found is at the end of October, some price increases from the previous year we got close. And we had an action here in April or May. Number, so it could be additional spending. But because it's the original budget amount, we're not showing this, but we would have included this on the budget. Basically, the all the budget. We messed up on the design as well. We thought we could use our standard market standard procedure working on it, but we are overlapped with what inspectors and know we have an isolation switch. There's a year that we order, and because of closing roof, $100,000 part of the additional evidence installed. You make that guy.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Any other questions? I just have a couple. One is the Bobcat has a new one working. Everything, did we get everything in place?
So start. That's not much about it. It's still written on the basketball.
On the basket? Besides that, everything's okay?
It's a great machine.
Good.
Looks good.
Yeah, it does look good. Generator, we're almost completed that. Fuel connection 2024, what, how come we,
I'm waiting for the contract, waiting for parts for the jet.
oh, we have one at home. Okay,
And I sort of expected that when you did that.
good. Good, thank you. Moving on to 8D, financial report. Rhonda?
Revenue for the month was 1.87 million, which is higher than budget by 566,000, and last year by 652,000. Our expenses were 869,000 for the month, which is an increase of 214 compared to last year. The increases were due to labor costs and utilities. Labor costs for December did include the retroactive pay and increases to wages, as well as additional hours due to a very busy December. A busier December also resulted in the higher electrical costs as a result of the equipment running longer due to the busier spring. Our year-to-date revenue numbers ended very strong, remained above 2022 by 947,000 and well above budget by 1.2 million. For revenues, our hardware services were slightly down by 4,000. Grain services were up 864,000. Rail services were up 14. Leases were up 98,000. Our for expenses, our labor was up 140,000. The delay in a contract settlement and wages increases influenced both the December and year-end numbers. Utilities were up 103,000, operating and admin was 245, which mainly consists of the municipal payments up 212. Materials and supplies were up 54, outside services were up 15,000, advertising was down 74,000, and administration and insurance was up 38,000. Year-ending surplus is ahead of budget by 1.7 and slightly higher than 2022 by 14,000. The record low inventories for the year continued to impact the revenues by 560,000, but the shortfall was recovered with a very successful 2023 harvest. Our management fees as of the end of December, the court transferred to the township a total annual payment of $1 million. The dividend to the township transferred a dividend of 563,411.48 from the court operating account to the township capital account. Our receivables are at 1.854251. Payables sit at 352,479. Our cash on hand is 8.221,743 the end of the year.
Thank you. Mr. McCauley?
Just a quick question. I assume that or am I correct in assuming that the retroactive pay is a lump sum payment? So that's a payment that was made in December, but we won't see the impact of that going forward?
Correct. It was all done and completed in 2023.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Stitt?
No, just you see, your big top line growth this year, bottom line, no growth really. Explain a little bit the changes in the township payments and I guess retroactive pay later, but these are always concerned. The report kept seeing that top line growth, bottom line keeps staying flat. That's going to become an issue.
Jim? Nothing? Mr. Snow? Mr. Ward?
No, I was gonna echo the same question that Frank asked about the labor, so just so I'm making sure we obviously wouldn't or couldn't accrue in 2022 what we knew, so we couldn't do anything about it, so we had to put on 2023.
We accrued some in 2022, but not at the percentage that the agreed amount came to, so there was a partial amount for 22 accrued and then.
Okay, nope, that's fair. And then it's more of a statement. It's good to see when you look at sort of the on what page is that there? Just a second. My computer acts weird. The I guess it's on page 15 of 54 when you're looking at the grain services revenue. It hovered along 6 million for 4 years, and all of a sudden in the last 3 years, inclusive, it's like this year's sales are 50% more than that baseline we used to have. Back in 2017 through 2020, so that's huge as far as production volumes go. So good to see that happening. It's more of a statement of I guess that's why we're here, why we're where we are right now in such a good financial situation. So, anyways, like I said, I don't know what's to thank for that, but it was just neat to see that trend we're looking at. It's really good.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, just maybe one or two quick ones. Compliment, obviously everything's pretty fantastic on this report. With the utilities going up a fair bit this year, has there been thought at all to we're doing a carbon thing with the dryer, obviously. Has there been any thought to the potential of mitigating the cost or the increasing costs in utilities by investment in solar, wind, anything like that? Or could there be? Better way to phrase it. And one that's just Rhonda, this one, it's probably just a word, but when you talked about the management fees to the township, can you just go back through that paragraph that you read again? It said it was $1 million, right? And then I thought I heard dividend.
Yeah, the second part is the dividend to the township. The fees that were transferred at the end of the year. the additional.
Okay. It just, the word dividend, so I'm gonna look at staff on this one, dividend, it implies dividend would be. Ports a corporation that's separate from the township.
Through the chair to the mayor, it's classed as a dividend because it's a transfer of equity from the port's balance sheet to, well, it's all consolidated anyways, when you have consolidated financial statement, it has both port and township in there. But it's a capital transaction that affects retained earnings as well. The port side, so it's classed as a dividend.
Still classed as a dividend even within the same corporation, I think that's my question. Right, because it's all one corporation.
It's all different.
Okay, all right, I heard dividend and I was like, it can be called dividend or does it have to be called payment in lieu or management fees?
You know, certainly, as both the port and the township go through the audit, we can look at that and see if there's a better word for it. It's not a dividend in the traditional sense.
Okay, then that's it, that's all, just me picking on a word. That's all, no, it's fantastic, it's all good.
Mr. Martell?
Just, excuse me, curious on the advertising number down 74K. That seems like a lot. Why are we down 74K in advertising?
A lot of it would have been the, Opportarium. We didn't have that this year, we didn't have the, plowing match.
So it's sponsorships.
Yeah, which it's all over together.
Cool, thank you.
Mr. Cameron?
Well, I'm gonna stick on the same thing as my colleague to the right with the reduction. Oh, sorry, that was an increase. I apologize. The administration insurance was up 38,000, not down. I originally thought that was a negative number. And then in insurance, was our insurance a big part of that increase then?
Yes.
Actual insurance been up significantly?
Yeah, our insurance went up 23,000.
Okay. I'm just curious, has it been shopped around at any point in time in the past or in the future? Maybe not the question for now, but I don't know, I'm just asking the question. I get some chuckles to the right, so.
Yeah, we are looking at the township to possibly put that in the agenda.
There's not a whole lot of options, is there? No,
In
that's why I giggled, there's not a lot of options.
Not what we have,
Not-
yeah.
Okay, I did not know the answer to that question and
We went down that road. Yeah.
good, glad to
Discussion.
Rhonda, I just have the one, are you done, Mr. Cameron?
Yes,
Sorry.
thank you very much.
Okay, inventory throughout the year has impacted revenue of 516,000. That's on the grain, but if we had other business, we could have picked up, like grain business. Would have helped that 516.
Having such a busy harvest, plus all the corn that we did in the first part of the year made up for,
Right,
the lower inventories.
okay,
So
but,
everything else would make up for the fact that
right,
our inventories remain low.
Substantial amount of money, 550,000, lose that at your storage, because you're not really paying for labor for your storage.
Mhm.
Replace that with the additional money we made from operations, that takes labor, so it kind of backs up the thought of our increase in labor kind of covers.
Can I ask you a question?
yes.
This is one that I was talking with a farmer that's local and they were talking about how they do put broad grain allows them, once they're full and they've shipped everything, I think it's broad grain, allows them to store and they charge them a storage fee when they have available space. Do we ever consider that, or is there a reason we can't consider that? So we're half full right now until the next harvest or until we bring things in with this available space that we're open.
Yes.
If somebody wanted to bring it in and store their own grain there, it doesn't, we would absolutely do it at the regular storage fee.
Yeah, we're open, so local farmers can bring it in or.
Yeah, doesn't have to go through a broker. Okay.
Clint can do it. But- What's that? I'm sorry?
Because that's been that way for years.
Yeah.
That's what the board has always operated.
It's just most of the time they bring it in to the big brokers instead of paying the fees themselves, but we do have a few smaller farmers that do store their food in normal names.
Yeah, okay, all right. I was specifically told that that wasn't possible. So, yeah, no, that's why I asked the question.
Good. Any other questions on the financial report?
Actually, thanks for asking. It's nice to clarify those.
Yeah, no, I think it's important, absolutely.
Yeah. Good call, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to AD, vessel traffic report.
All right, so we finished with 1,022,140 metric tons. The increase as far as our harbor report goes, you can see the breakdown there. It just total vessels that are pretty close to the same amount, a few less rainfall, less crews, and so on. That's the ops manager already mentioned a very busy summer.
Questions? I'm not even gonna go around. Mr. McCauley,
I'm fine, thank you.
any questions on the vessel report?
It's not a question, it's just good to see. I mean, I know we didn't have the miscellaneous cargo, we had a lot less of them this year, but we still managed to hit one more ship than we did last year because of it looks like basically because of some extra grain shipments essentially. So that's good. I mean, I guess extra salt as well, pardon me. So it was good to see that even though we didn't have miscellaneous cargo, we saw just as many ships this way, so.
Lots of salt.
Yeah.
Nothing on the vessel traffic report. Gonna move on to 8F, and that's the GM report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Marina Dock project, we completed the shoreline berm in January. Walkway will be completed in May, June. We'll be looking at for next year. That was part of this project. A natural gas update. We received the class 5 toll from Enbridge for natural gas expansion report. We can discuss that in more detail if you'd like during the grain yard presentation. ODS Marine, we're still reviewing the new footage and report. The February, March meeting. Investments, we have a VIC that matures December 30th. We've reinvested and have that as part of our information item this evening. Land development update, we're waiting for survey. We'll be developing a drainage plan in preparation for further development, including organic materials and adding stone. This will be detailed in our upcoming budgets for 2024. Attended the 2024 budget consultations that was done by the municipal government. Provincial Parliament, basically the finance minister, Rick Myers, and local MP Steve Clark received budget requests from the local municipalities that share future costs associated with maintaining the port and grain elevator infrastructure and the need for the province to support the ports. Port Johnstown shared a sweet Logistec annual marine club in Toronto. This event is an opportunity to celebrate the year and to network with companies who support the Marine Club annual dinner. We've had Stephanie McVitie attend that on the port behalf, and she came back with lots of good information and enjoyed herself tremendously. Met with the Transport Canada official and discussed our berth access plans, the need for additional signage, and we're working on the year-end report in 2024 budget.
Okay, Mr. McCauley. Anything on the general?
Question, the manager, with the changes in ownership at Logistec, in your conversations with them, perhaps at the meeting in Toronto and the like, any comments from them about anticipated changes in how they will operate or how it could impact the port?
We've discussed it. They're a little unsure. I mean, the company that purchased them is a hedge fund company, and so there's different points of opinion on how that will affect them. Some think that maybe some of the investments and so on might be easier. Might be, and some think that the cash flow might be a little tighter. So we don't have a clear understanding at this point where things are going to go there.
Thank you.
Mr. Stipp? Jim?
Just a quick one, with the Transport Canada official, signage, is the signage where, sorry, I have to use.
It's our workage.
Okay.
So, what took place was we have a code to get in there over the holidays, 27th of December. To inspector officials, which is from Transport Canada. They had the code from previous time that they were there, so they used the code and then went back and said there was no one there to greet them at the gate. So I got a phone call and it was kind of a complaint, but then when I explained what happened and so on, and we have monitored cameras and so on, and it's a Canadian flag vessel, and we do not have to have somebody at the gate. So basically said the minimum they need to do is actually have a gate that they check in before they actually just go through your gate. We've also done a declaration of security, which you do just to cover your bases, which I had done prior to them arriving, and that means that you transfer security responsibilities over to the vessel, which we had done. So we did everything right, and more of a, just a discussion on the port and what's happening at the port and things like that. We covered off the incident very quickly.
Something every day, okay?
Yeah, there's all.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Mr. Mayor?
It's right down.
Mr. Cameron?
God bless my side.
Okay, I have a few. The natural gas update class 5 code, I got an email. Can you help us out? At least help me out. Class 5 code. What's that class 5 code? Say,
Yeah, I sent that to the committee and described that there's a definition of what a classified quote is. I don't know that I have that here this evening, but I can send that out to you all and explain that.
like, is it good, bad? Class 5 is worse,
It's a very high level quote that you really can't base.
so you don't want that. We don't want that.
Of course. No,
Okay,
sorry.
so it's a
No,
3.
we do not. We've had that quotes for a year, and they're asking for more detail.
Okay.
And so after a year, this is what they came back. So we're not happy
With the same one,
Basically.
basically,
A few
okay.
more words of, description, but very loose, and so then I asked. If you're gonna do any capital project, you need to, they think that, well, it could be higher than that or lower, you wanna know what's the how much pipe are you using, how many hours,
Mhm.
all these details, so then you can track that and say, okay, well, we need more, so it's gonna be this many hours. But there's none of that, right?
Yeah.
So
No,
in
that's
my opinion, it's kind of like writing a blank check. That's what I mean.
right. I got that.
It's a little strong, but. that's
Yeah.
how I feel.
Right. And it's the same, pretty much the same as we got since
I would
2022 with you, right, Kevin? Pretty much.
Different number.
Just, yeah,
Yeah.
slightly different number and get it done a little quicker, but that's what,
More sense, just.
yeah. Thank you. The engineer is reviewing the video footage on,
The dock, we've been talking about that in the past. as far
okay,
as,
is that the harbor front dock? We're
That's
talking,
our grain elevator, shipping dock, and the port dock, so that whole slip.
okay, so,
Grain boats come in, that slip there.
all right, so it's not the harbor front dock.
No, we already completed.
We
that.
did, that one's good, and the riverfront dock's good.
Yeah, 2014.
Okay. Now that I have that straightened out, thank you. And your land development, you're saying that preparation for further development, of removing organic material. Can you elaborate a little more? Do we have like, I hope not,
We've done running there, so the business just come in and just the big long wood chips and so on, not wood chips.
okay, we don't have no walnut trees or anything.
No, I don't
Okay.
think more.
Oh. Jeez, don't say that. No, don't say that. Okay, but there's nothing like that there.
No, it's all down, so then you have to clear that organic material and withdraw it, right? So
I know the apple tree's down, but
half of it. You gotta regrow it. And so, but before we do any of that, we need a topographic survey, which Ron Pace is doing now. And then we need to look at a drainage plan, look with kind of make sure we get that done, because we cannot start developing, and then all of a sudden we have a major flood on County Road 2 because we have stone and everything's just
Right.
going. And that will help us actually to drain as well. It goes from the new building across the street to the marina. But we did repair the end of that pipe, the end of that overage, because of the liability. So that's all. If you go down to the bridge here, and look at the berm that's there now, you'll see that it's all those big holes and everything. It's concrete sticking up. The ball was taken out and we replaced it with a berm with riprap. That was just completed. So that gets rid of that liability for us.
Good. And the last for me is this, whatever, the 22-24 budget consultant that you met with, PA Assistant Rick Byers and Steve Clark for local municipalities. When you said that, you know, we need help on support with our port, I hope you jumped, screamed and yelled about getting finances for our natural gas.
No.
Did you bring that up to them?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay. I wish we would have had something like that to show them that we need help. I mean, I think,
Okay. Well, that should be.
Yeah.
It's $2.8 million and it's a blank, and they won't even tell us if that's an accurate price, so I don't know if we want to go to asking for money for it, and we don't even know what the final price would be. I think they made up our mind for us. And we can go to them. That's my opinion.
okay, any other questions, people, on that? Okay. Thank you. Robert, moving on to the Port of Johnstown Investments, 8G. Who's gonna speak on that?
We made one change at the end of GIC mature at the end of December, so we had an action item for that at our November meeting. We decided to go with a 1 year at 6.25 and a 2 year at 5.3. So we took the total, split it in half. And we're able to get some very good rates. That's the change.
Any questions, comments on this? Mr. McCauley?
No, I'm fine. The only comment I'd make is that the Fed here in the US where I am will look at their interest rates again this week. It's expected they will not yet decline rates, but the expectation is still for a rate reduction in the US over the coming months. That should lead to a rate reduction in Canada as well. So the outlook we talked about at the last meeting is still the same, but it is slow in coming. The central bank, both in Canada and the US, really do want to make sure, I think, that inflation is wrestled to the ground before they start really backing off on rates.
You like to elaborate on that, Mr. Treasurer?
Due to chair, definitely agree. Yes, I would concur with all of that.
Anyone else? Mr. Mayor? No. Mr. Ward? No. Okay. Moving on, Port of Johnstown Investment, we're going to 8H, year-end presentation of pre-audit financial statement.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have covered a lot of this through our December discussion here, but we'll go through it, and if we're going a little quick or whatever, just raise your hand and we can stop and answer any questions. If we're going, we're all going to take a little piece of this. So thank you very much. So total cargo process report 2023 total 1.625 million, and the highest year on record report. For the first 11 years of operation, reports average cargo has increased by 50%. And continues to move trending in a positive direction. Our under level transport, you can see that our marine still leads the way, but that's mostly due to salt, and of course some grain as well, and followed by trucking and a little bit of small grain. The marine business cargo, we processed 1,023,140 metric tons of cargo in docks in 2023, and this is an increase of 172,000 or Notably, our salt movement by vessel was up by 111,500. And that chart just gives a breakdown of our totals and different commodities traveled by marine. To the two and for our vessel summary that you've already seen tonight. The other report. That's our traffic summary, and then just a few pictures of our, we do distribute this year-end report, so just a few pictures of our bulk cargo, talking about our salt, the product being in port, going to the eliminator, we're exporting some stone, July 26th. Of course, our grain elevator loading the Bay Como with our new spouts. And that was the one that we chose to display here was very timely, and we really don't take some of the relief for the exceptional efficient cargoes for our farmers. The total of 333,000 grain shipped on the grain elevator 2023, including 19 vessels and 9 vessels destined for foreign markets. And then we have one vessel, the Great Fall. We didn't see any more steel other than the one that arrived this April. And that total 2,128 metric tons. Now we just gave a lot of people are interested in, what are the vessels names that come to the port, the one over the greens and the farms. So we always broke down the salt and as well the grain shipments. So we included that as well. And I'm going to now pass it over to Mr. Moulton, who will take us through the grain business report.
Volume of grain received at the port in 2023 was 459,719 metric tons, which is a record year and up 101,000 tons over 2022. A very strong start to the shipping season, as well as another good crop year, led to excellent results. The weather is always a concern for the crop yields, but overall it was favorable in 2023. We saw good yields in all three main commodities of wheat, soybean, and corn. The harvest season started off strong, with more wheat being received than we did in 2022. In particular, soft red women volume was very high, representing about 90% of the wheat received at the port. The soybean harvest arrived as scheduled, overlapping the corn harvest by 3 weeks. Yearly vessel shipments of corn in the spring reduced the overall inventory, allowing for more wheat and soybean storage waiting for vessels to arrive. The seaway strike caused some reduced delivery appointments, but had very little effect on the overall shipping season. We were fortunate to have 2 vessels of soybean loaded just before the closure and 2 immediately after. Soybean appointments reduced for 4 or 5 days waiting for the strike to end. At that time, we also restarted sweetening corn into the ants. Storage of non-GMO corn continued to be an important aspect of the services the port provides. The port successfully completed the surveillance audit for its GPM Plus feed assurance program and retained the certification. The program requires a full recertification audit every 3 years with annual surveillance audits the other years. To recap, this is a quality program that requires the facility to have procedures in place to ensure our customers that we are receiving, handling, storing, and shipping grain in accordance with recognized best practices for the feed industry. The port also continues to support our local corn customers by providing extended working hours at night and on weekends to ensure the production needs are being met. Just some graphs. The chart below shows the total volume of each commodity handled. And you can see it continues to climb. Grain received at the port 2015 to 2023. Grain received by transport mode. Grain shipped by transport mode. Actually, let's take the same picture you showed earlier. I didn't notice that before. Oh, that's the white fish. The CSL vessels we're always excited to see them come in. They're very good for us to load. We can load 30,000 tons in about a day and a half. So it's pretty good for us. This was kind of interesting. Probably for me, I would have not that this, and soybean obviously continues to be our big crop, but the corn, at the start of the year that we did get in the fall and brought in the spring, and we were able to ship, really got us off to a good start at the start of the year, like I mentioned, and actually, you know, increased the volume to Port was almost as much as soybean this year. Chart highlights the total volume of grain handled per year. You can see that 2023 was a record year for us. The handled report was another record. Being the previous year, the volume received was the volume of wheat received was 64,672 compared to 60,022. 2 good years of growing conditions, as well as soft red winter wheat being preferred by farmers for fall planting as part of their crop rotation. Preferred crops in the year continue to be corn and soybean over wheat. The soybean harvest was once again a busy time at the port, with 2008 466 metric tons received. This is marginally down from last year, 215,000. The Seaways forced reduction of appointments for 1 week to avoid flooding. 185,000 tons of metric corn received in 23 was the second highest total received at the port. The spring shipping program combined with a good growing season for the main contributors. Corn drying continues to be an issue with the overlapping soybean and corn harvest. With a strong late season soybean intake that requires the use of the dryer, we're only able to take advantage of the early corn harvest. We are unable to take advantage of the early corn harvest. Receipts of non-GMO corn continuing in 2023 was 17,228 metric tons. This is on par with previous years. The customer continues to be satisfied with the way the corn is handled and the level of service provided.
So we're going to continue to go to the capital projects unless there's questions at this point.
Any questions?
Yeah, I just had one question, actually. It was about corn, actually. So there was just, you know, we were on this sort of upward slant 2020, 2021, and then last year a big drop, and it recovered again this year. Do we know what that's about, or was that just a different year last year as far as the harvest goes, or was some other aspect of it? Or maybe we don't know about it. If you're looking at the graph on page 10, I guess, on your report.
Page 10?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Sorry, as far as the corn goes, so I guess, yeah, it was going up for 2020, 2021, dropped suddenly, and then.
In 2022, we couldn't receive it.
Okay.
We were so busy receiving soybean and shipping soybean, and corn was wet. So
Okay.
So that's why we got the bump this spring.
That's fair. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll go on the capital. Mr. McCauley?
One quick question and a comment, but the question, it's a great report. Is that a public document? Can I distribute that, for example, to all the residents of Windmill Road?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will do that. The second is, and this is more commentary, it's a great opportunity to sit back and think about how much this operation has evolved since its creation in 1930. When you think in 1930, the purpose of this operation was to take Western Canadian wheat, transship it from the largest ships in the lakes into very small ships and send it off. We were loading ships that probably had 3,000 ton capacity, 4,000 ton capacity. Now we're loading ships that have 30,000 ton capacity. And we didn't really serve local markets back at time of inception. But we've evolved over time that local markets, in terms of soybean, which wouldn't even been thought of back in the 30s, has become a very, very important crop for us. Corn's a very important crop for us. At inception, it was really only wheat. And then you look at the other commodities that we service in terms of salt. Salt would not have been carried. We didn't have docks to handle salt. We didn't have docks to handle break bulk. So I think it's a real compliment to everyone in terms of how this facility has evolved and diversified over time. And I would also suggest to you that most of that progress and diversification has happened since the federal government sold it to the municipality. the growth and the progress of this facility since the municipality's been involved is incredible relative to what happened to that port between the closure of the Seaway in 1959 and the sale to the municipality. Very little happened over that period of time. The growth and diversity has happened after that.
Thank you, Mr. McCauley. Any other comments? Okay, would you like to move on to capital?
Some of the capital projects, you know, these are kind of the highlights we discussed throughout the year. Here's some paving, both on the river home dock and the road from Master Beach. Before they show the market area that we paved. Rail repair, we had a rail damage back in the winter, that cross was repaired, and that just shows the before and after picture of each. We had the land development over the old BMW building. Just 22, 20 acres were cleared to run the land, that shows kind of overhead shop where it looks like today. The dredging project and first 5, which is the road that was the tunnel come into low drain. Demo repair, this was demo repair this year. This is kind of shows them the before and after, try to show the contrast and give it some a little bit of light. Picture, I guess, is more valuable than what it's describing it. That was kind of before what we had. And then what the finished product looks like. And again, the bottom picture on that page shows where we stopped here, where we had funding for the project. It shows the contrast and what's there now and what we're able to repair. These repairs are needed all around the transfer sheet to Bear Summit for the carryover from 22. By the time the contract is ready to do the work, we try out the project during the harvest. We do later. Let's put the sheet into 403. This also serves as a backup. Something happens for 8 trips. 8 receiving that takes in about 65% of the total grain in the elevator. The trip goes down on the other stop. This allows us to direct transfer into a bin. And move it with the dollars. You don't have to stop. Steer covering on the elevator and then try to get a picture in there so the contrast with before and after spring. My perspective is actually makes a big difference. And also to make a big difference mechanically and keeping the water running off that big fall, not penetrating some of the micro water cracks or breaking them. So it's a good thing, more valuable again. You spring out the stock cycle and see how it works. We made some 15 bins in the basement, we have to do the ship loading, and then before and after we get all the bins open by hand, deal with the roll on, guys, tug on them, they get stuck over the years, try to lubricate them. Need to be careful with lubrication because there's all blacks to paint them. And for fine, this then actually makes it harder to try to do so. We've now got more on that just shows the panel bringing the operation. Well, the about when open when closed. We're going to do a deal with for the marine. MTC number 6. Top project show a picture, but that's basically the freezer table the wall on the substation. The maintenance area up to the top of the marine. The marine is that big bump you see in the middle of the elevator. That's where the rail, the marine scales are, and that's where you can see. The diameter. They're picking for that dirty, so it's pretty good. The guys out there are keeping impressed with it, so we get a couple of packs and up the door with it, and then we're all set with it. Lots of maintenance has to get done. Yeah, no access. So in that story, 5 scale directly within 601. This is a bin that sits up on the very hill. It's actually one of our exit bins, one of our area cleaner. And the filling with rain before, which we don't traditionally do before. So every harvest starts to maximize it. It takes 4 or 5 hours to set up. takes another couple hours to transfer in. Now we have a direct connection to the scale, we don't move the setup from all, and there's no, it was a task, because you're up above your head, you over top of the belt, down, put things in place, and I'm just eliminating the safety. And certainly has an efficiency of the output. New security controllers, we got new controllers, we're trying to get marine to get some positive feedback. The brain moves very quickly down the loading system. We're just trying to get a better feel and better control on those gates. And the one before I had a little tensionometer and didn't have the required feedback. We switched them to a Fortis line and signals will now know exactly what it is. Exactly that. That allows us to control our flow, that allows us to get a little better consistency in brain challenges. Lights, we are car loading, we had a line tail inspection last year, so it had to be replaced. The one on the right hand side of that page is the one that failed. What that did was we reduced to 1 lane from the way drop cars for that. What was the place? Now we're back up to money. And that is the highway job for 2023.
Any questions on the capital? Mr. McCauley?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good.
I just have one
You
point.
go ahead, Mr. Snell.
The rail car, that line you said is replaced on the right side, is that for when people are on top there, they hook onto it, so
Yeah, safety line.
is there always 2 men out there? 'Cause what happens if they just slip on? How does it get back up onto the road?
We have a rescue plan for it, I can make a few back there, the rescue plan.
Okay.
For that, anything that's out of work, John does a great job on safety, whatever there is, there's access, there's always rescue plan.
How often do they check? Like for
Once a year.
what's all? Thanks.
Mr. Ward?
No, lots of work done, and I guess that's when you have a roughly 94-year-old building, I guess that's gonna happen, right? So good to see that. And, no, keep it going, obviously.
Mr.
No.
Mayor, please. Mr. Cameron?
Good work, guys.
I just have the automated basement vent valves. That must be a big relief. And for everyone, I mean, going from a hand pulley to electric motor, it must be.
It is, it hasn't managed to load it, but keep in mind that's 15 bins out of 300.
Right.
It was basically done in line with ship loading, so no extra hours that are being mixed. And I was like, fine, I've discussed for years, working the ways how do we get the stress off our guys, and how do we get able to service our customers when we, and that means right.
Good report. Maintenance report, any other questions? People on the capital?
Actually, you triggered another question, so,
Sure.
and I know it's been a year since we talked about it, so. So is there any advantage, and I feel like you've already said not really, but any advantage to automating more bins as well down the road, or is there, I guess maybe it'll be in the budget this year, I don't know, but. I just feel like we talked about it and it was like, they're not really gonna happen soon kind of thing, right?
There is some advantage to it, the usually design in the project was designed for 30 bins. Because of the cost overrun, and then we cut it back to half, which gives it 8,000 tons, but the whole, the 30,000 tons. So it allows us to get into the hours, a little better. And we could automate more of that would be really. Again, we'll have to sit down and review how well it works. This is beneficial to do.
Thanks.
Any other questions in the capital projects? Moving on to the maintenance report.
2023 was another busy year in maintenance department. Through the year, the department varies from routine inspection and maintenance of all equipment. The breakdown maintenance when the piece of equipment fails or is found to be still functioning but in need of repair. Inspections from regulatory bodies such as ESA, TSSA, and CGC are also admitted to institute throughout the year. Below is a brief summary of maintenance. Maintenance department of 2023. Maintenance mechanical, they replaced number one water valve, installed 800 buckets. Replaced the dust transfer auger 30 foot by 20 inch big auger, move the dust out of the building. Replaced the last aerator in the P23, installed new drag conveyor chain and paddles in number 6 receiving conveyor. Inspected and made repairs to 40 bin aerators. Replaced drag chain and paddles of the Annex bin number 9 day sweep. Installed more urethane liner in various spouting sections to raise the mill visit. Modified dust collection system with 5, 6, and 7 conveyor loaders for improved dust collection. Annual routine maintenance of all grading handling equipment, weekly and monthly dust system inspection and maintenance, and we rebuilt number 13 dust bin. In the electrical, we installed new electrical circuits for warehouse unit heater and garage door opener. Updated firmware to all 323 bin temperature monitoring sensors. Removed all previously decommissioned electrical feeders. The equipment from the old ship loading spouts. Replaced the brake coil and rectifier for number 2 ship loader. Blue raising and water lunch. Annual housekeeping and maintenance of all water control spares. Install encoders and all scale gates to provide more accurate scale gate positioning. Waste scale testing and calibration. Install 2 electrical circuits in the CGC grading office and marine geology. Contractors can be used for some projects. Decor, install new electrical feeders to NTC number 6. Each material already fabricated, installed spouting from number 8 scale to number 7 conveyor. We also did use out from number 5 order into bin 601. DCIS inspected, repaired, and certified horizontal lifeline. ESA conducted 2 inspections of electrical equipment. The coal fire testing and certified the fire alarm system and also connected their 2 union fire equipment. Brady conducted the annual inspection and certification of all workers in place PPE. Unitech performed inspection and certification of working equipment. Title Paul relocated the large generator and installed a new fuel supply system to generators, and AJ's water treatment services maintains some water samples from a small drinking water system in accordance with the
maintenance report. You want us to go on with health and safety, Mr. Chair? Go ahead.
On health and safety training environment, below is a summary of the environmental health and safety program activities for 2023. Management support prepared recommendations for short and long-term areas of program development, training including enhanced focus on proactivity safety. Updated recommendations discussed with management as needed. Prepare information to management regarding changes to health and safety legislation and file an implementation plan for the updated compliance-based regulation. General health and safety support, reviewed safety committee inspections, safety committee meeting minutes, and incident investigation reports from the previous year, and updated the hazard prevention program assessment. Reviewed the new HPP content and recent or planned future safeguard with management, then consulted with the safety committee on adjustments before reissuing the updated assessment. Conducted training sessions for confined space entry hazards and confined space entry permit classes for all available port personnel. Updated the HPP procedure, implementation plan, and training program, and conducted an evaluation of the HPP program since the previous version. Presented the evaluation report to management and safety committee. Conducted HPP training sessions for all available personnel, including a segment on pedestrian and vehicle proactivity safety. Updated the port's women's procedure and training program, received reviewed with management and the safety committee, finalized documents, conducted training for all available personnel. Updated the port's substance use for fit pro for duty policy program and training material, and reviewed with management and safety committee. Finalized documents, conducted training for all available personnel. Review compliance-based entry procedure and associated forms following the requirements of updated regulations. Conducted an inspection of port facilities and updated the listing of confined spaces under the new definitions. Began updating confined space entry classes in order priority as identified by port management, and updated 2 class of spaces. Consultation with the safety committee were conducted at all stages as required. So you see that we did a lot of work in confined space entry. We do have a lot of confined spaces at the port, and there were some changes to the legislation last year, which made us update our policy and also update our training. Updated ports noise exposure policy and training program review with the management safety committee. Finalized documents, conducted training for all available personnel. Updated the port procedure for health and safety committee functions, reviewed with port management, and consulted with safety committee before finalizing the procedure. Arranged a site visit with the rescue specialist to advise on rescue methods and the equipment necessary for difficult to reach confined spaces and evaluate areas of the port. Updated orientation training content for new port casual employees. We conducted 3 training sessions for new personnel. Environmental program support. Updated and issued the spill contingency control plan for the salt storage pads and retention pond. Reviewed the previous year's 2022 salt shipping data, inspection records, and salt management records in preparation for the inspection by the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Participated in the salt management system audit by the MECP, and issued minutes for the audits discussions. Reviewed the initial inspection report, outlined numerous wording concerns, and provided recommendations for corrections. Reviewed the revised inspection report, which had been corrected. Participated in 3 meetings regarding anticipated amendments to the port's environmental compliance approval. Issued meeting notes for record keeping purposes. Health and safety metrics, apart from training hours, performance metrics were provided by the port administration. List for this activity. That's the state report.
Any questions, answers, questions? Mr. McCauley, none?
None for me, thank you.
Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
I have one. I'm just curious with regards to the comment about arranged site visit with the rescue specialist to advise on rescue methods and equipment necessary for difficult to reach confined spaces and elevated areas of the port. Who are you working with there? And I'm just curious, was there anything to do with the River Cardinal Fire?
No. No, it was a company from Rockville.
You want to arrange it that?
I can see him on my mind files, but I can't say. What company it was for.
Okay.
But it's a company that's trained in that. I think we work for DuPont, a lot of the other industries well.
Trained in rescue and local, relatively close, locally based.
The guy himself was there long.
Okay.
It's the same company that does our combined space investment training. Yeah, Jerry is his name. Yeah, I can't remember his company.
Sure, you've got it on record. And,
I can remember his first name.
yeah, that's good. The reason I asked is confined space came up recently at an OFA directors meeting. And a lot of local fire departments are not really trained in confined space, don't have the technical abilities and don't want to touch it.
True.
And it shocked me when I heard that. Especially given the confined space potential at the port facility, as well as at Ingredion, some experience there too. So it's great that you've got that covered off and you've got a plan in place. I didn't think it had anything to do with local fire, but you confirmed that and you've got something there. So that's terrific. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I mean, I just did, a nice fulsome report, and I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding when you look at our health and safety record. I mean, it's, there's a lot of stuff that happens every year just so we can make sure we keep a good record and make sure nobody gets burned on the job, and so well done in that perspective, I guess is all I would say to that, so.
Mr. Smell?
Yeah, I just have one question, or pertains to safety, but you were talking about the salt there. A while back, a year ago, so some company came in and we have to do something with the drainage that's coming off the salt. Sort of work. Brought up on that, or?
We still have to, present, MECP with a plan on how to improve our salt management. We're working on that with our consultants. If we have to deliver something to them next,
What's up with that? Thanks. Yeah. That's it.
Good. No other questions? Moving on to the financial report.
So the financial report, the graph shows from 2015 to 2023. The Port of Johnstown has completed another successful year, as detailed in the chart. We finished 2023 with the highest revenues since the township acquired the port. Revenues for 2023 increased by 9%, resulting in a record surplus of $5.43 million, exceeding our previous record by 0.25%. Port did see a sizable increase of $933,000, or 18.9% in expenses compared to last year. Labor costs were up $143,000, this is primarily due to the additional labor hours required as a result of the record year total revenue process. Our management fees were up $207,000, 6%. Park management committee voted to increase management fees paid to the township from $792,980 to $1 million, effective for 4 years. Our grain handling losses was up $155,000, which is due to shrinkage caused by handling the grain. As I said before, the utilities were up $103,000 due to rising rates, including carbon tax and an increase in usage to the grain yard. And our insurance premiums were up $24,000. Inflation and impacts of rising revenue contribute to that.
Mr. McCauley?
Well, the year ends when the phrase "show me the money" comes into play, and you folks certainly did. So thank you. It's been a great year.
Mr. Stitt? John?
Like I said, how do you top that?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I, certainly fantastic work, throughout the year. It was, we sit at the table all year and go up and back and forth, on these reports, and as it has been, increasing since, I've been here, and it continues to increase and benefit not only the farmers, but, the entire township. So I think it's certainly fantastic work and certainly deserves an applause. Well done.
Mr. Motel? No?
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't say enough, guys. Well done, and you guys do deserve a big clap, so thank you very much.
So we'll just put things off with the, putting our highlights to the end of the year, so you can, go through that, the first vessel to arrive, and celebrate that, and we also, make sure to acknowledge the National Day this morning, called the opera. Our grand opening at our first for the Aquarium. We also had our IPM winners, we were able to get them, the relationship to the Port Elevator, that was very well received. We made a plowing match. Ministry of Transportation tour, which was the parliamentary assistant actually to Ministry of Transportation. And I was away, and Mike stepped up to the plate and did a job supporting some Canada funding announcement was made for us. That was a great reception that we held. And at the port, we turned out very well, and good compliments on that. And of course, some of our donations, and we will go through every one of those. That's how we break off. So that's our year. I just want to thank the staff here, and tremendous job, and it's great seeing it go on well. I mean, I do know that we're a lean team. I know that there's work to be done, and we talk about sort of our surplus level a lot, but I think we can expect a little bit of that going forward, because we are going to have to invest in more personnel and so on. We'll have to discuss that in the new year. I would, you know, if you're interested, if you look at other reports, I would strongly recommend that all the port authorities, they have public financial statements. Go on their websites, look at what their costs are, what their expenses are, what their management's getting paid, and so on and so forth, and compare the reports there. You know, I'll give you an example of Port of Hamilton, when they have a $40 million revenue, they make 10 million out of that. $30 million was the expense, and that's just one example. So we do well. We're very broad in our encompass our roles. You've got a general manager that actually works on capital projects. I see as we grow, we have to, at a certain point, we have to start to expand your staff. And of course, we talked about a succession plan and talked about that. We need to do that in the year. So we'll have to sit down and talk about those things. All to say that as we grow, we have to invest in your team. And right now, other than Sean, not here tonight, this is our team. And we're getting bigger and bigger. So it needs to expand. We need to go into expansion. So we'll need to be some investments in management in the future. So just to give you a heads up on that. And just to thank you all for your support. And again, great thanks to the team here who do a great job supporting the business.
Thank you, Mr. Dowling, for that. Clerk, can I have two recommendations. I have this one recommendation for the year-end presentation. Can I go and ask for 8A to G, and then the recommendation here on H? So I'd like a mover and a seconder to receive from 8A to 8G. That's grain operation report, maintenance report, capital project, financial, vessel traffic report, GM report, and Port of Johnstown investment. Moved by Mr. Ward, and seconded by Mr. Smell. Any questions before I call? All in favor? Then on the year-end presentation, I have a recommendation that the Port Management Committee receives the 2023 year-end review report. And this includes receiving the financial statement as per bylaw 2017-2, Schedule A. And that these financial statements be submitted and then interpreted to the council. I need a mover. Mr. Mayor, I need a seconder. Mr. Ward. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Before we get into the 8I, the new grain dryer. I'd like to take a 2-minute break. To the clerk, could we have a break? Okay, I'm just gonna excuse myself a bit.
All right, so I'll move that we call a 5-minute recess.
I'll second him. Shut the camera on.
Should listen about it.
No cigarettes.
So you don't have to leave.
All right.
So who is that station?
Thank you. We're now going into 8I. Procurement and construction of a new grain dryer and its expansion. Project number 300-069. Who's going to speak on this?
Saunders.
Okay.
So, regarding the last meeting we had in this discussion, I'd love to give some time with again one number. Basically, the one out of the saying, we're looking to do is to buy and install a dryer. Accomplish two things. One is to get into the wet farm market a little bit sooner, so that will increase the revenue for $500,000 a year estimate. Change the business is a change the target count of 15,000. I think that's reasonable. I believe it's still higher than that, but I'm not sure. We still have a commitment with the ethanol plant, and we have to maintain so much storage for them. So we'll have to look at the buffer that they sell. So the whole we're doing now, we've got beginning like starting hours to come We're up to 200,000 pounds a year. That goes to the main building. When you come to think about the soybeans, it's, we usually try to have 55,000 pounds of space going in the hut. Bringing in 200,000 pounds, so we're turning that space over 3 times in order to get to that top volume. That takes some time, the soybean harvest starts. Depends on the weather, but usually about the last week of September it starts and it runs through into November. The corn harvest will start late October. We get that overlap. By the time that comes, the building is full of soybeans. And we're bringing in the soybeans that are loaded in that. We keep that inventory. So we can't get to the dryer. There's no access to it. The dryer for soybeans is where it is set up currently. We have access to 3 bins the whole wet run. With one tray conveyor goes across 3 bins. 211, 411, 611, 3 bins. We fill those up with 550 tons each. And that's our storage for beans or directly to the dryer. The rest of the beans bring 100 bins. We need to dry them, we need to run them back. If we don't run them back, this is ours, it's the same lengths. Maybe the inbound rate, I use stuff, and then we get back, turn around and put it in. But even if you look at it, there's a lot of movement. It's an old building that's built in 1930. We're very restricted physically on where we put the rain based on where we can take it. We have space on one side of the building where we're seeing in today, we can't get it. Not letting it move. You have to properly move in, run it around the building, and drop it on the other side. It's just not practical. It's not a lot. But that's why we don't get into the wet one. We just have no access to the wet. Plan, no one when we built it. We built it and started 2010. It was in response to the other plan coming to town. We saw that corn storage is going to be the original plan, straight bins, and clean fire. Service the ethanol plant. And that is an independent entity. There's nothing happening. You can't break down a failure. And the building receive and shift a part of the conveyor connected to the main building and the ends. Allow transfer to the farm. So we'll look at really the needs of the water is not happening. As you can see, when the revenue report is climbing each year. This is the first time the port's been over 900,000 metric tons annually in the year. 2 years ago, we broke 800,000 for the first time. This year is the first time over 900,000. So it's hard to know. Going. And based on the rain that's going in the area, it's possible. Certainly possible. Just on a side note, I got a copy of the one that we have a membership in the Dundas Crop Association. The Senator Annual Report. In the President's report, we got a mention. He said he personally found out the monetary value report provided for the he also mentioned that, the sewerage regulations a little bit. The inventory rendered at the port, but finally, towards the end, we were get some corn in the port. So that was considered various and some of the farmers and done that. So it was good to know that at least they recognized the port having value to the process, the crop, getting the crops to market. We're getting more crops. We need to have a way to handle that if we're going to get them out. Right now we have no access. Just because, and it's a very good problem to have because the soybeans are such a great volume and we can't get it. Similar routes, one based on the question they came across. I didn't bring up how the 10 days, it wasn't impacted. But it showed the amount of rain is dry, and when corn harvest starts, we're sitting at 4,000 tons of soybeans to dry. We're drying at about 65 tons an hour, 70 tons an hour. We try not to dry every little bit of grain that comes into the port, the blending, of course, some of that surplus comes. And we blend and make sure our average moisture going on the vessel is well on spec, or we get it out. We didn't get rid of soybeans until December 15th. That's when the soybeans are finished, and we start drying.
By that time, in almost 2 months, since the start of corn harvest, we're not getting any money. That's the issue. The next is final entity, just to give you more history. Since 2010, the plus invested just under $12 million in the annex. So that's the scale headers, conveyors, the leg, and the 9-bit investments to those. Just under $12 million. For the annex alone, just in corn movement, it's generated just under $14 million. So it is a viable entity. It does generate revenue for the port. Okay. So currently it's making about $1.6 million a year on its own. We're getting about 3 tons on the bins that are leased out to Rivian. And then the rest of the bins are full. All the bins are all open from the utilized. There was some doubt in 2019 when we put up the large bin at the end, 16,000 tons when we would fill that. It was full that season. We never had empty space that we pack it every year. The current is carrying $1.6 million a year. The added for Irish got another 500,000 of that. Just put the maximum on $2 million one. Point to note that this is the first time, of course, looked at increasing dryer capacity. Back in '89, it was in grain handler. Well, 12, it was right over 24 tons now. Today, that's about half a truck. Every hour is about half a truckload. We're taking in at 8 cars, we're taking in 13, 14 trucks now. So in 2006, we put up the GSI 4000. That gave us a capacity of 75 metric tons an hour. At that time, the port was getting about 200,000 tons of grain. Now we're at 400,000 tons a year. So that the need for drying is going up with the total grain. Okay. So now we're looking at increasing that again. We're looking at the GSI 7,000, which is double the allocated capacity again. Again, it's the yield with the increasing volume. So this kind of gives you an idea. Again, soybeans being dominant. Coming to the port this year was the exception. This is a good exception. I hope it continues for the port. I thought that's pretty business. It should be corn. Soybeans are really taking over. Let's top it off now. Used to be wheat, then it was corn, now it's soybean. Hopefully we can get back to people putting corn and soybean. Now we'll be nice to spread the days out for the forest revenue and be very well. You know, this is corn in Ontario, we go over 3.5 million tons of corn a year. In the Eastern Ontario region, it's 1 million tons a year. So there is an opportunity there for corn business. Currently, when we do get corn, you know, we take corn in probably a couple of weeks after harvest starts, and it's dry on basically for the alcohol. So we're missing out on a couple of weeks of corn. Our objectives, we're trying to increase the grain drying capacity. We really want to get out the intake of wet corn sooner. We want to increase the overall storage capacity for port because we need fully utilized now. And we want to, of course, increase the revenue generated out of port. Background history, nothing really changed there. Put back to the with base 36-54. This shows the current tariff that we have of 2023. This is what we get in the grain on a corn. Projected revenues to dry and bottom page. The expected increase of 15,000 metric tons. I think that's conservative, but that's the way it's done. Information. So 15,000 tons will generate from $620,000. On the upside, at 25, we reach that point, you're only looking at about $1 million. And then we've been covered in that million for later. We're looking at $5.7 million. Bid
received a two wet bench for corn, with a rain dryer, which is prepared legs, and gives us another 5,000 tons bin for driving. The ROI, what did the ROI on this as well? The two things, one was the end bridge, bumped it up another $7,084, and then there is by estimate. We're gonna 5% contingency, it brings the total size of over $3.9 million. The gap funding $2 million, and support funding requirement $6.9 million. Payback from natural gas estimated at expected case of 15,000 additional metric tons, expected to be 13.2 years. Again, that I would call that being on images class new customer. That is lower. Probably 30%, 40%. It's a bit of an unknown there. It's still, even though we have moving out with that number on it. Because it's kind of like all the easy flow. Give you a ballpark. You have to have alternative fuel, we look at propane. I got the back, I actually told me 100K early. I guess it's been 205, 200 from the back. The thing that was at 6.8 million. Yeah, I'm thinking about 4.33 of the course. Then we require for the dryer, the expected payback, with the expected case of 15,000 metric tons. Summary, again, we're looking to increase the grain drying capacity, we're going to get into farm market sooner, service our additional producers. I'm looking to increase the force revenue by $500,000 a year. And we're recommending this will be granted for a fuel size 7,000 bar tender. And we're recommending propane as fuel based on basically, you can buy a lot of propane.
That's it.
Like I said, you can't lock into the price of propane, I lock into the 2 years. Next is in the low mid-40s. Somewhere 50 and 5 cents.
Well, let's start off for me is, let's take the Enbridge quote and put it aside. And I'd like to hear around the table if everyone has, if I have your support on that. At 2.7, we didn't get a grant, or we didn't look for a grant, so let's just say Enbridge is gone for now.
I mean,
I need some help here, so.
you've got my support on that for sure. It's essentially like if we want to buy a dozen donuts, they're making us build the bakery first, and it doesn't make any sense to me from a business model perspective, so I hear you, no problem.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, well, you can see with the coffee, Tim Hortons, you gotta do your own Tim Hortons to get a coffee.
It's fine with,
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I think without another source of funding for that, and it's certainly not what I had hoped for, and I still don't think we're there with it. So the class 5 and the potential of them finding something when they do their work, I just don't, as much as I'd like to see that move forward, I just don't see any sense in moving the gas part forward, so. reluctantly would say yes.
Mr. Martell, Mr. Cameron, Mr. Stitt. Looking for some input.
Bill was talking.
Joe?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with you, Mr. Chair. It seems like a no-brainer at this point.
Mr. McCauley, input?
Yeah, I'm certainly fine going ahead on a propane basis and putting Enbridge in the rearview mirror. I think it is important to note from what I was told at the last meeting, if we do go forward on the propane basis and out of the blue somehow Enbridge changes their mind and it all comes to the port free of charge, we can still use the same equipment and there's a relatively modest cost to having gone the propane route initially. So I don't think we've eliminated the natural gas option by doing this.
No.
But the right thing to do is to go forward with propane now.
Go ahead, Mr. Lord.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that contingent, is that, we have that built in here at all, that fund? Did I hear it's about 300,000 we figured for us to, if we had to convert from propane back to natural gas with this thing, you tell you.
No, we did do the thing at the base project, and put your pipe in York on the novel. That's it.
Okay, so.
Really, it's the difference is how you get propane from liquid state to gas state fast enough.
Just hold on, okay, so not even that much, you're saying, okay, that's good.
And just one thing right now, you're saying that we're missing our opportunity of drying more corn. Do we dry corn right now at the Port of Johnson?
We do. We do at the end of the season.
How many tons corn per year do we dry roughly?
It varies from 15,000 tons to about 30,000 tons.
Okay.
And the 30,000, keep in mind, like 30,000 tons of going back and you're dealing with about 125, 130,000 tons. So
Run that by me again, sorry, Kevin.
when you're back to trying 30,000 tons for a year,
Yeah,
you're actually only doing 125, 130,000 tons for a year.
Yeah.
So everyone really displaced on the product.
but we do dry corn now.
You have to do it.
Yeah, and we do it. We do dry.
We started bringing in on December 15th.
Yeah. And the beans are probably done around then, pretty close. 95%. In all fairness, right? And that's up on a bad year, okay. Mr. Stitt? Okay, I'm sorry, back to you, Mr. Cameron.
I was just gonna interject a comment that you made earlier, talking about, we're about 2 weeks off of the corn harvest, like it's about 2 weeks later, but we also, if we went with the dryer on the corn side, we could also bring in wet corn sooner and possibly have not just a 2-week limitation, but actually take in more wet corn than just the 2 weeks that we're theoretically offsetting right now that you said between beans and corn started. Because you can store wet corn, right? I mean, that's what one of the bins is for.
There are about 2 bins there to store wet corn. So you have about 2,600 tons of wet corn stored.
Okay. And if we go with the separate dryer, then we could dry even more wet corn theoretically.
Well, theoretically, we expect to dry an additional 15 to 20,000 metric tons.
Yep. Or possibly more. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I completely concur with the direction and the comments of the council with regards to going with propane, setting natural gas in a compartment for now, so to speak. And the opportunity to go forward down the road is always there, as you pointed out, to convert from the propane back to natural gas, if for some reason it became more economically viable long term or in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So we haven't handcuffed ourselves at all. Nothing was a prudent decision to go with propane at the moment as well.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Mayor?
And I still struggle to get to propane, but, I just think, you know, again, I think I've asked this, I've asked it in an email. I just want to make sure on record and, that we are complying with the
ACT funding,
portion by going with propane.
Yes.
So we're not at risk of buying a dryer and we're losing 2 million in funding by buying a
No,
propane
I
dryer.
sent an email directly from them saying that
Yeah, I'm saying it for
we're
the,
good to go.
for the recording.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's, I wanna hear it, I wanna say
Yes,
that we're not,
absolutely.
I just wanna make sure we're doing it perfect.
actually got an email today asking what we're doing, so I said, I'll get back to you tomorrow.
I have a couple of more questions, but they're more, they're just my ignorance, and I need some help understanding a couple of things. So, in 2010, we brought in, I think, the harvest that year, it was a large number, it was a bigger number, we brought in 91 metric tons, I think it was, of soy that year, and I think it was 180.
In 2013.
No, it was 2010 was the biggest one. 116.
Yeah.
So did we use the dryer then to dry corn?
Yes, we did, because in 2010, we were probably only dealing with about 90,000 tons of soy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says. So we were able to offset it and handle it. So how did we? So we didn't have the annex then? Is that the deal?
The annex was in 2010.
Right?
That was also at the start of, we'll go back when I was at the start of the, I call it farm surge.
Yeah.
All was setting up shop, so I think they buy that Buffalo corn, that's why that number supply was just local corn.
Yeah.
They were buying it from everything. There was, when we started out the plant, we want to make sure you have raw materials so that you can run.
Yeah.
One of the challenges, I guess, that, the guy in Cardinals found that, non-GMO, so making sure they have a steady supply so they can do enough clients to do it. That was the mindset back in 2010 when I looked at the numbers, that's my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
They were a lot of fun, like, make sure they could run.
Okay, that makes total sense. Like I was looking at it and then the numbers, changed quite a bit over the years, but that I just was like, well, why could we do it then and we can't now? 2010 was that around when we got the next version of the grain dryer as well? Was it 2006?
2006.
2006 was the new one, and it went from 25 to 75. Okay, so the one that we're proposing to add to dry corn with, and we think we're going to dry 15,000 metric tons of corn, is 150. So it's 2 times the size of the one we presently. Why?
Yeah, they have a more wide faster. Went to a grain drying seminar a few years ago, one of the grain conferences. The guy that buys them at the time was, hit the biggest dryer you can, dry as much grain as you can, during daylight hours. Before the ambient temperature starts to drop, because the ambient temperature just like it burns it out. When the ambient temperature drops, you need more fuel to dry that grain. So try and get it dry when the ambient temperature is higher. That's why the theory behind the heat shield on the new dryer is to capture some of that air that you're catching and bring it back into the free heat there. Again, it's to keep that difference between your ambient and your time and your low cost.
Okay. So, but we're going to we're going to triple our capacity ultimately after with it.
We got about a 4-week.
Okay.
And now it can also be used for soybean. We run into a hard year like we did 2 years ago, where the top of the beans get wet.
Yeah.
We can utilize the dryer for that, get that down. That's more about.
Okay, that's getting me where I need to get. And okay, the only other thing that I don't know is, and I haven't, maybe we have seen it, it's not in this package. This package says that the grain dryer cost is like the cost of dryer is 5.981, but that's not actually accurate, correct?
On the dryer itself?
Yeah.
No, that's a little high.
Right. So what's the actual cost of the dryer?
I don't know. I'm using a ballpark, but we asked for a package. That's the way it is.
So the bins come with the dryer, they don't get costed out individually, or the construction work if it doesn't get costed out individually?
We asked for design to build a package, that's the way it is, so we're all in a package. I have prices on the dryer and delivery,
Also, I just almost had a phone sure I got people.
Okay, so, but here's my question, and so does the cost of the grant cover the full package, including the wet bins and the dry bin, or does it only cover the cost of the dry?
The package.
Of the full, and we're 100% certain?
That's the way it was submitted, that's the way.
Okay, all right, because my concern was, and I knew that in that there's a different costing, and I knew we were increasing storage, I certainly think the increase in storage is warranted, I struggle with the business case scenario for the dryer, but I mean, ultimately it is what it is. But I certainly don't, you know, I think we're up to 50%, but the grant, the way I read it was 40%. And if it's only a $2 million dryer, I just don't want to get stuck with a bill at the end that we aren't going to get 2 million in funding, which is what we thought we were getting. We're only going to get 1.
We're fortunate that Ag Canada, the people working out the program, understand agriculture.
Mhm.
So they had to understand we cannot allow the left in storage. You need dry in storage. That's how we keep it continuing to going. So they had that concept already. It wasn't many people that and go and then we done a new package, one of the long dryer, which is this one, not square.
So I guess, so ultimately the cost of the dryer of this is actually fairly small. It's a third of the cost.
Well, we don't know.
Right, ultimately, I mean, if it's $2 million, it's actually a third. It's a third of the cost. We're paying $4 million for storage. No, I'm a big believer in storage. I think, the ultimate is that we've seen is that, I mean, this year is fantastic because you guys brought in 1 million ships, but if that's not the case, like the year before, where ultimately we filled up and we had to turn people away because we couldn't secure those last couple of ships, then the increase in storage is a good thing, right? The storage I can support. I struggle with getting to the dryer. That's my part. So, but I mean, if you're telling me that 4 million of this is actually going to go to increase our storage, then I'm probably more in favor of that than I am buying a dryer. But if funding from the dryer pays for it, then I guess so be it.
Is there any way we can get a breakdown? Dryer, 2 wet bins, what, I don't even know, you guys want, it's nice, you guys want $6 million, 4 million, I guess, from us, 4.2. And I don't even know what size the wet bins are. Like, can we get this is only, I support this green dryer 100%. I just don't support the way it's laid out for me. That's my biggest problem myself.
I have a parcel list here with me tonight.
Sorry?
I have a parcel list of all the dryer sizes and conveyor sizes, and there's no price to look. If you ask for design go, the reason we ask for design go, because we want to be able to utilize the wetlands for dry storage.
Right, no matter what, if we don't have any wet stuff, we can still put dry stuff in the wet bins. Perfect.
So then we can set up the conveyor so that we can fill those wetlands with dry grain. And run it right back out on the conveyor, just go on a truck, we don't have to go through the dryer, have to go through that loop. Before we made it designed built, those guys are the experts on conveyors and the layout of the conveyor.
Right.
That's to be done.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. I'm not going to go ahead.
Okay. If we approve this tonight with propane, would it be installed in time for wet corn season next year?
2024.
Guaranteed, 2024.
We're gonna have that discussion. The reason I say that, spoke with first week ago. Good luck, I didn't get to go ahead. When we had planned, we thought we would, so I started following my order book up. It's supposed to have in November. And I said, doesn't work in November, I thought that I can't, we have to cordon off an area so it works safely. I'm reminding this. And the doctor said, yeah, man, get your price in 60 days. I'm very good in 3 days.
And completion date for the project is end of September. And, he's gone back to, yes, we'll do our best, but we still have to find contract with them. They're all the way there before, it goes on paper. Sure, so it's a big project, they want a project. If they make the commitment to it, I will make time to it.
Well, if they don't, then we miss out on the revenue for one full year, correct? So we're putting money out.
You want to complete it a month before the ground starts. Because the soil starts then, and the soil, trucks coming in to pick up. North of the, now, there's a lot of traffic in that area, and you can't pull it up. That's why we said in September, you can, look at that area, but in September, then. Yeah.
So when this is done, what does that annex area look like?
Look like,
Yeah,
basically when the new dryer, when they built the mechanics back in 2010, they actually put a valve, they put a valve on the top, coming in this direction towards the moon. For that, the converter is already there. We'll have two wet bins where the scale house is. On the reverse side of that, a conveyor that runs one end to the end. The two wet bins, you have a dryer, you have a dry bin inside it. The two legs lifting into the dryer. And now the conveyor going across the existing bin number 3. Another conveyor coming back to the new bin. That's how we can fill. There's no corner line, it's still fill the bin inside. That's really why I want to design those. All inclusive one price. Package with each other,
yeah, sure.
but that's the way it's stated. We can utilize all that bin space regardless of what building is.
Okay, and that's how it gets back into the house if you're gonna use it for solar as well?
Correct. So if they come out of the dryer, and dump it right onto the roof, and you can blow trucks like the dryer on to the roof. That's where you're not complex.
Yeah, you're the process engineer guy.
Is that so?
Yep. At some point you have to, I'd love to hear what Randy and Clint both think at some point as well.
If that's an invitation, I can certainly.
And I'm sitting pretty much there, but I still wanna hear. it.
Yep, fair enough. So when we talk about wet bins, we're talking about there would be 2 wet bins, is that right? Or 3 wet? Is it 2 wet bins and a dry bin, is that right? So there's 3 extra bins. And so if I'm looking at this picture in front of me where I have the main building on the right-hand side and the annex over here, all those bins and the dryer will be along the inside of the annex, is that true? Or did I get that right?
Yeah.
And so we got all those bins. It sounds like we have extra channeling going back and forth between the annex and the main building as well, so we have better traffic routes, better ability to move stuff back and forth now, did I hear that all right?
No, really, the route between main building and annex doesn't change.
It doesn't change, okay.
We maintain it, we don't touch it. We still want that for operate.
No, I get that. One of the last things I heard was maybe there was better traffic. In other words, an extra conveyor or something over to the main building. I didn't hear that, so that's all right. So, okay. And the other thing to keep in mind is when we look at those prices we talked about, that's for buying a bin. You can't just, buy something and put it on the lawn and say it's good. There's an installation aspect to that as well. And I think we gotta make sure we're capturing that. So I think there's X number of dollars that would be at that price as well for that. But when I think about the surge capacity in case we suddenly had a bunch of wet soy come in as well, and the corn has, we can have that conversation. You guys would have that conversation with yourselves, actually, that would not even with us. But I just think that the advantage of having the extra capacity, if we need it even for the soy, and I know that it's complicated, is also a thing that we have to look at. But I've decided that it's probably something that you'd have to do if you had to do it. You could then do it, but you can't do it today. So I just really think that more capacity, especially if the main grain dryer goes down, then you can divert to that as well. You never want to be able to say that the dryer is down, so we can't take any trucks in anymore and shut the operation down. So I just think from a contingency perspective, for the cost of, let's call it $2.5 million for round numbers on just the actual grain dryer aspect of it. I still think it's a good idea, and I get that it hurts. And when you look at the whole equation with the gas and the let's call it 10 years return on investment, you know, that's ugly, but the grain dryer, the grain bins last a lot longer than the 30 years, and we sort of had a 30-year life on the dryer itself, so. I think while it's not the number I'd like to see from an ROI perspective, it's certainly within the cost, within the range of the lifetime of the dryer, so. You know.
Mr. Cameron, Mr. Stitt, help us out. Any input on it?
I mean, I would support it, and you can't possibly support it in the natural gas side, probably don't have the money.
No.
for it, But the ROI, it's just crazy. And even if, you know, Enbridge was 50% out on their quote and dropped it by 50%, it's still pretty. So I definitely agree with the propane side, but everybody knowing what 205,000 gets us from the back of what that is, if there's anything, you know, comfortably feel that 205,000 installed. But the ROI is a lot better, but in my world, maybe I can speak for Clint, it's still 9 years. So then it becomes more of a decision for me, becomes a decision of, do you want to put your money into something that provides support, more flexibility, better service for the community or for the township? And there's definitely a, you know, cost to that, but there's also a benefit. That becomes a unfortunate decision for council, you know, for the voting members of the board. Timing is over for me, you know, maybe this doesn't happen today, if it does, great, but can you put performance guarantees in with Forest? Is that something we've ever done before, where, hey, I understand the quote, they said September in 60 days, but can we do something else with them if we go ahead? Can we, you know, if we're to the point where it's late, we miss some revenue, that's back on them. So, you know, there'd be all kinds of legalities in that, and whether they get the equipment on time, all that, which may be the right thing to do, but something maybe that that's.
Typically, if you wanted the contract expedited, give them something for it. So you're gonna have a penalty in one hand, usually there's a credit.
But it sounds like you're not expediting. It sounds like the promise date was, if you sign a contract, the promise date is September.
So, oh, we lost the money. Right.
But the quote is still valid, isn't it?
Now, the schedule's moving because years, we would have a decision.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying, if you sign the contract tomorrow, you still have $200 a day. And if that feeling is really strong, then is there something to work out with them? Some kind of performance.
Yeah, verbally, after the conversation that last night, verbally, I feel comfortable. Knowing we're going on, probably the biggest, I knew and carry a lot of time. I'm sure I'll be able to get the material on time. Morris says, this will be the third program that we're working on. Bonus to the day. So based on that history, I'm pretty confident in this. You may have just using this as a practice and moving the out. You get an answer, but
Yeah.
I know it's not. We have to get the approval at this level first.
But I want to be clear too, it's a capital project and things happen. There's always a chance for insurance. We've had it happen. It's often we get it, but it can happen. You also have the timing, funding that's going to happen as well. You try to get this all and keep in mind that it's $1 million. Then the project is not.
I still want my 1.5.
The funding runs out in March of, the end of March 2025.
2025.
There you go.
So we're over there.
But it's gotta be installed by that date, not started, right? So.
Right, right. So if we're thinking if it's not absolutely going to have it ready by then we're going to start harvest, we're thinking of letting, just letting everyone understand. I'm in front as well, how long you would want to push down. Like, we've got to keep that in mind, so.
So. From a business case standpoint, you know, in the financials, we talked about, you know, growing the business, we need to grow the business, and this is going to increase revenues by potentially 500,000. The ROI is getting back to even is 6 years past, 12 years in the mid, 9 years, let's hope for. Do we? Like what Mr. Stitt said, is there a business case to be made for investing this amount of money somewhere else where there's a better return? From a strategic standpoint, I get why we're doing this and why we want to do it, but just from a very different standpoint, it's a good chunk of change. And does it, are we gonna get a better return on that buck somewhere else?
Essentially, you could. Absolutely, I'm looking at it from an entity that's supposed to be a nonprofit entity providing a service to local farmers, and that's what we're trying to address here, not just return on your money and so on. I think you need to look at both the service to the farmers, the amount of business they give the port, the amount of soybean they bring into the port, the amount of soybean shrinkage we get in the port, all because of our producers. And so we get a lot of money from that. And so to try and just equate it to a return on investment strictly on how many years back, we're trying to sell this as more, not only the return on investment, but as a service that we're trying to provide, get rid of the constraints of the port. It's another constraint that we're dealing with. And we're looking at it as a whole system that we're getting to the end of our vision and of our plan that we started in 2010. So this was our original ask. I mean, if we would have done the project back then and said we want 20 million to do the whole thing, I'm sure the ROI would look better. We've already paid for the annex, what we've invested in it, we're getting money off it. But to split it off just to the dryer, I understand the return on investment and the amount of time. I do appreciate that. And I'm from the Walmart world, and I understand if you had anything over 3 years, it was a tricky, it was a tricky thing to get across. But we're trying to appeal also to the service part of our business here, what we're trying to provide for the farmers.
Yeah.
And this is something they want, they're looking for. So that's, could we take this money and do another investment somewhere that's not even related to grain, potentially? We do it in the bank, potentially at 6%. As long as right?
No, I 100% get that, and I agree with that, and we're making, record profit this year on record revenues, with record volume. I think we're servicing, those 1,200 to 1,600 farmers pretty darn good already.
Yeah.
I think it's doing its job and it's making a profit, right? So I struggle to think that we're gonna service more farmers. I think, we might service more grain, but more farmers on the.
It's talking about we're expanding our service. It's something that we would like to see. So we're trying to provide full service for our farmers, and right now we're starting with that reform.
Yeah, I don't debate.
I don't think we're going to get new farmers or.
Right.
I mean, we've got our pretty big core business right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll survive without it. Certainly.
The only other tiny thing, and from a propane standpoint, there's going to be considerable increases over the next decade in carbon tax. The price per pound is going to go up. This is going to use a considerable amount of propane. Do we know what kind of costs we're getting into for propane per year? Like there's a huge amount.
The carbon tax is based on kilowatt energy. The different rates for natural gas and propane, but the volumes of it. So basically, it's based on a kilojoule basis. Right now, propane is at 10 cents. Or it is 10 cents. But propane is 6.something cents. But to get the equivalent amount of heat, you need more than 1 cubic meter of gas to come out of the cent. Yeah, that's expected. I'm not really getting them out. That could change as well. I mean, not rise well.
Do we know what the operating costs will be?
Propane cost per liter.
That's more of the question. Yeah. It means one to do the capital for it, but I mean, we sort of need, and I get that we're seeing an ROI and that sort of thing, but what's the propane actual costing?
Yeah, cost of 50 cents a liter right now. Our cost of natural gas per cubic meter is 1 cent.
50 cents per liter propane? The price you got from Lebec?
Yeah.
And 51 is their natural gas?
Natural gas, but there's, you know,
You
your
get-
propane is.
You get more BTU out of propane than you do natural gas.
You do, yes.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's gonna heat quicker.
Yeah.
Faster.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's that close, like the deal you got.
Yeah, I was actually surprised, that's what we did inquire on propane, and we learned a lot that into 2 or 3 years. So. Whenever we have to use the dryer, you have a contract on 2 years and you're okay.
What,
It's set whatever it is, it's 2 years, the cost is not.
what, if after 3, natural gas does come along, can we cancel that?
We don't have to buy the tanks, he supplies them. Fuel,
So it's their tanks?
their tanks,
Okay,
he supplies them, and we'll basically buy our 12-day product. First, make it into the gas. And we get,
it might be, I don't know, it might sound crazy, but with their natural gas one, might be something to look at. Putting it on propane. The one we have now. On-
Anyways, that's a different discussion.
Yeah, that's a different discussion, so. You're right, we're getting off. Yeah, are you done, Mr. Mayor?
I'm
Sure, I mean,
For now,
let's
Just for now.
probably have
Please.
something.
I was just gonna throw in a caveat to what Mr. Valley said. It's not just a service for local farmers that we'd be doing this for and the business that we would be getting. And the other dryers of the province that we'd be helping alleviate some pressure on. Because right now, they're bringing in product from all over the province into the port when they have them. That's been dried at other facilities to go into storage for greenfield ethanol and for Ingredion. They're trucking stuff from Peterborough and Western Ontario down here wet because they had no capacity to dry up there. It's not just a local drying opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow our business and grow our brand and grow our
Inside
name.
Eastern Ontario.
And that's my OFA director hat, because I know what's happened in Western Ontario and Central Ontario. It's not gonna change anytime soon. We talked about yields increasing, we talked about other constraints. We've got the infrastructure and the ability to grow the infrastructure and to grow the port. And I think the number is probably closer to a 5-year payback. In all fairness, I think you've been very conservative on your numbers. Commend you for that. But I think it's a tremendous opportunity for the port right now with what we have and what's available to us and the township. Because everybody in the township owns a chunk of this. And if it's a 5 or if it's a 9, I think it's gonna be better, but it's still a big win for the township and for opportunities. Eventually.
Thanks for that.
Mr. Ward?
I'm not. The historical number we talked about, we used to do up to 30K drying a year. If you're looking at our trends overall traffic going through, okay, of corn. On a lower volume, we were doing 30,000, we're now doing 15,000 the same drying. I think I concur, just on the statistical side of that conversation of what Mr. Cameron just said about, 15K seems like it could be on the low side potentially, and then if that's the case, then we're missing out on more than $500,000 a year to be honest. So,
And then one dryer goes down locally, Broadway's dryer goes down. Where would they turn to? If we had it, we'd be available.
right, and currently they can't turn to us, but it would be there for the
Correct.
future, so.
Correct, so that's why last year, a lot of stuff turned away.
You want to ask Frank if he wants to say?
Yeah,
I have one more question.
Frank, I haven't heard from you and I can't see your hand from Florida.
No, I fully support the investment additional both storage capacity and grain dryer capacity on the propane basis. And I look at it strategically. It's echoing some of what Mr. Cameron said. And I think if you look at how this port has evolved over the years that I referred to earlier, this is a continued investment in the infrastructure that allows us to evolve further and would provide support not only for the local farmers, but as Mr. Cameron says, maybe for the province as a whole. So from that perspective, I'm fully supportive of it. I know the payback period we'd all like was a little shorter, but I don't think there's a whole lot of risk to the investment. It may be lengthy in return, but I don't think it's ever going to go negative on you. So I think that's another important aspect to look at. So I'm fully supportive.
And
Thanks, Frank. Mr. Mayor, can you get in here, please?
yeah, and I think it's probably gonna go to Frank or staff. The recommendation, the way the recommendation's written, doesn't contain where the funding is going to come from and how we're going to pay for it. So I guess the question is this something that we can pay some of and borrow some of, and does it make sense to offset the hit to the money that we have to borrow some of it? You can speak to it as well. Frank's the financial guy, but
Something to say on the finance end of it, the treasurer perhaps, we'll hear from them. Borrowing, Frank.
Frank?
I guess I'd have to look at what you're borrowing, what you could borrow at. So I guess you're investing money currently, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's something like 5.5% in your RBC account. If you can borrow on a basis that's lower than the 5.5% for a period of time, you get a positive carry. But I don't think that's going to stay for long. I think you'll end up with your costs, your investment return declining over time. So my guess is you're better to simply take your money and invest it in this now and treat that as a sole investment, as opposed to thinking, okay, maybe we can make a positive investment return on the financial side that'll offset the operational side. I think you're better off just to make an infrastructure investment here and not look at the financial returns of arbitraging between a borrowing rate and an investment rate. It kind of gets back to what business are we in? And we're in the grain business, we're in the marine business, and I would rather be focused on an investment in that business as opposed to how do we arbitrage between a borrowing rate and an investing rate.
So through the chair, just to add on what Frank said, which I'm in 100% agreement with that. I think one option that exists for the committee to consider is how this aligns with in the budget. Usually there is a long-term capital plan that's a part of that budget, and you know, there was some talk of ROI, so maybe there's an option that you finance a piece of this and put that money into something else that generates faster returns on investment rather than 9 years. But it all needs to tie to what the capital plan for the port is, because for it to be sustainable, you know, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Because there's stuff I'm sure is that that's in the long range capital forecast that's going to need attention as well. So want to make sure that the port can fully sustain for the long term.
Just my response to that is that we presented this in 2023 budget. It was approved, and the only thing we're asking for the extra 250,000 to cover the growth gain, and that's why we're asking the recommendation of the council for it. Any bigger and so on, that was done at that time, that was that by this committee at that time, and the budget was approved, and this was in the budget. The only thing that changed is that the generated and $2 million worth of revenue. What we have to do, I'm using these numbers here, what we estimated in the budget for that to last.
It was approved in last year's budget, not completed in last year's budget, so in theory, it has to be reapproved in this year's budget, right, just for clarity?
It's a carryover, I'm saying, but I'm just saying.
Let's, nothing carries over, it has to be reapproved in the
Yeah.
budget in 2024, so we're giving pre-budget approval at this point, right? I think that's important to know, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know, further to that point on the financing, we have, you know, but I mean, I know we didn't spend it last year. We've been saving for it. We've got, you know, between cash and receivables and investments, $16 million. So it's, you know, we've been preparing for this decision of the way it didn't happen last year, but you know, I think that's what we've been heading all this time. So.
yeah. I have one, and it's gonna come back then to the GM if I can, Chair, and so from a funding perspective, we don't pay until it's completed, right? Do we have to put money up front?
No, there's monthly progress payments that'll be made for the project.
Right,
So
so,
as we get those payments and we pay them, then we send the receipts into the government. They usually lag, they're pretty good actually. To compare it to past funding, I think it's like within a month. We get the money back from the government up till we hit 2 million. And
Okay.
that's all ours.
all right, so. Can I add to the recommendation then, that I'm fine, I'm gonna vote for this, but I'm just asking for an amendment to, the recommendation's not on the floor yet. So that funding options, different funding options be presented to the committee for their consideration. So if this goes through, that different funding options come back. Is that?
Did you get it?
Okay, I'm just, it's more of a curiosity. I mean, if it comes directly out and we pay it up front and that's the best option that's decided, then fantastic. But just looking at, I think, at this point, I think looking at a couple of different options to fund it would make me feel a little bit more comfortable as well. So, so if I can, I'm gonna move that to an addition to the recommendation's not on the floor. So do I need a seconder then I need a seconder to add to a recommendation or?
So through the chair, the original recommendation wasn't from the floor yet.
Yeah.
So there's no amendment right now.
Okay,
Technically.
so-
Right now, it's just a friendly amendment that if you want to add it on consent, or if you want to go to the book, put it on the floor, and then an amendment is proposed.
Okay.
Amendment is approved, and then the full new motion with the amendment is then final.
Okay, so I think just, I'll make this simple. I'll move the recommendation that's written, parts 1 and 2, with the addition of part 3.
I'll second that.
Yeah, that way it gets it on the floor, we can have a vote on it, and hopefully get this over with. It's a big investment.
But, yeah.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion.
Discussion on this?
Further. Second, if it's not.
I'm on this right now. Okay, gonna call the vote. All in favor? Carried.
That would be all. No.
Should I read the recommendation now that we carried that? No, already carried. Thank you.
Already voted,
Yeah.
or already 1 and 2 plus.
Thank you.
Okay, anyway.
Number 9. Approval of the disbursements. Board of Accounts, is there any questions on the disbursements? Not here? No. Anything?
Thought I had one.
Give me a page number, please, if you do.
I don't go to Chris first, I have to.
Chris?
No, I thought I had a comment on something, but I don't see the comment anymore, so. Nope, I can't find it.
You can't find it,
No, I thought I had a question on something, but I can't seem to find it.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, I'm struggling, I can't find it.
Oh, yeah, sorry, so, if I see this correctly, we've,
What page?
sorry, on page 52 of 54. We've given a deposit already for the audit, is that what I've seen, $16,000?
And so on.
Okay.
They started the process, that
Right.
other service agreement later.
And this is, it's for the 2024 that we're talking about, looking at, seeing if there's any other pricing out there, it's not for this audit particularly we're talking about, that's right, okay, that's fine.
And they started the audit this week, they were in this today.
Okay.
Okay, that's perfect. Did you-
Oh, that's weird. Good.
This one?
I'm good.
I need a mover for that. Need a mover to approve the disbursements, moved by Councilor Ward, second by Mayor Deschamps, all in favor?
That's a little weird, yeah,
Number 10, council inquiries and notice of motion. You? Waddy?
Yes, through the chair to either the CAO or general manager Robert. I drove by the elevator in the evening, like dark. And I drove by it in early morning hours. On the east end of the elevator entrance, there's no light up at the highway. No, I don't know how many tractor trailers turn in there with their corn and stuff. It's really dark. I was just wondering, is that up to the township to put a light on the end of that entrance, or would that be up to the?
Is there a light already there? It's just not on.
I don't know if there's light there, but it's not on. I know at the west end, you have lights about 50 feet inside the entrance, but
I don't know where it is, just so I, the maintenance man about.
straight across from the Rito Bowl.
Okay,
He said.
Your east end.
okay.
It's just, I'm thinking there's so many truck and trailers going in, and I just drive truck that spikes out lights.
Yeah, we'll definitely check that. Thank you.
Before signing.
It's in the.
Is that okay? Okay. I have an inquiry. I'd like to bring forward, Robert, well, I'll be talking to you about. I'd like to report in February on, your committee, port days, how we're coming, or if you had your committee formed yet or whatever. It's getting up there. It's February,
Yeah.
so. And we'd like to have port days for sure.
Last, the other committee again? You did. And who else? Yeah, I know Joe, was for the website as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all. All right, we're calling a meeting, I think, for this Friday, that's basically the update.
No chairs report, question period, we have no people on the online. So we're going to go into a closed session. I'd like to thank our members of the committee for joining us and supporting us for this major investment that we just did. So thanks very much, Mr. McCauley. Enjoy.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. See you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cameron, Mr. Stitt, and Regis.
So you're gonna take.
Mr.
Need
Moran.
motion?
Yeah, I
A
need,
motion to when to close.
yeah, who's got the
Does somebody have a motion to
Yeah.
when to close?
Who's got the motion for close?
Nope.
Yeah, read the motion to when to
But
close.
who has it?
We don't know.
Oh, here it is, right here, sorry.
No, it's motion to go into close session.
It was on me. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Waddy Snail. The committee proceeds into closed session at 8:58 PM in order to address a matter pertaining to section 239(2)C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, specifically sale of land, and minutes of closed session dated December 18th, 2023.
All in favor? Carried. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Take a time here.
Hopefully got that on there. No.
Moved by myself, and seconded by Councilor Whiting Smell, that the closed meeting of committee does now adjourn and the open meeting does now resume at, 9:25 PM.
All in favor? Carried. Coming out of closed session, for acquisition, disposition of the land. And gave our port manager direction. Let's give it. Report, oh no, I need the improvement of the minutes of December 18th, 2023.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Chris Ward, the committee receives and approves the minutes of closed session dated December 18th, 2023.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Last but not least, 15. Who has adjourned? Roddy, can you say it, or Walter, or whatever?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Chris Ward that the committee now does adjourn at 9:26 PM.
Thank you. Adjourn. Thank you. All in favor? Sure.